Good evening, viewers, and welcome to our panel discussion about church regulation and church registration. In the panel, I have on my right Pastor Julius Maranga. He's a pastor in Full Redemption Christian Ministry, and he's done theology studies at World Impact Bible Institute. And on my left, I have Pastor Thuku, Peter Thuku. He's a pastor at Jesus Edification Church, and he's done theology studies in the Presbyterian University in Nairobi, and currently studies at Eldoret Bible College. And at my far left, I have Brother Caleb Wasilia. He ministers at the Choir of the Spirit Ministries, and he has a master's in economics, and he's going through training in ministry in his church. So, welcome again, our viewers. We'll be talking about church registration and regulation in our discussion. First of all, we have a question that I would like to pose to our panelists. I will first of all begin with church registration. In 2017, the then Attorney General Githu Muigai had given a directive to stop or prohibit new churches registration, and up until today, it is still on. So we are here to talk about that. And the first question I'd like to ask our panelists whether it is it right or wrong to prohibit new church registration. And if it is wrong, I would like to know why. And if it is right, I would also like to know why. And we're going to talk about that in different perspectives. And the first one, I'd like the question be directed towards the law, as far as the law is concerned, specifically the freedom of worship that we have provided in the Constitution. Pastor Thuku, would you like to tackle that particular question?
The first question, whether it's light or long, I would say it's long. In this nation, we have three kinds of freedoms as far as issue of churches are concerned. Number one, we have the freedom of worship. The Constitution allows us to exercise that freedom wherever we are. And number two, we have freedom of expression, meaning in any gathering you are allowed to express yourself. And of course, we have the freedom of association. So if somebody come up and say people should not associate, people should not express themselves, people should not worship, I think that is unconstitutional. And we have the Constitution of the land to safeguard the interests of all people, including worshippers. And I think it's wrong.
All right. So anyone with a different opinion?
I do agree with the sentiments of Pastor. What I would also want to add is, apart from the freedom, we have the growth of the population. Every day we are witnessing the growth in population. You can't say we are going to stop the schools. We are not going to stop like the colleges. We are not going to stop building roads, infrastructure and everything. How can we stop church registration? These things are like growing along. Everything is answering to another demand. And this is also backed up by the calling. As people are rising up, they're getting the calling to minister to people, to minister to new people. More problems are rising. We have ministers who are coming up to do this. This cannot stop.
Okay. So, wow. So, and are you in agreement with the prohibition of church registration? New church registration?
I think the registration should be continued, because we have other churches, for example, at rural areas, so many pastors are not registered. They do illegally this work. So we urge the government to continue registering them.
Okay, so you are against it. And I would also like to know, since the prohibition has been on, do we still have churches being born, Brother Caleb?
Interesting. That's another interesting question. On one side, the government has stopped the registration of churches, but churches are, it's unstoppable. The owner of the church is Christ. He's the king. So it's not possible. From the history up to where we are now, it has never been possible to stop the church, the growth of churches and the registration of churches. As much as on one side it looks like it has stopped with the registration at the AG's office, but in reality this thing is happening. There are many people who are very smart. When they stopped the registration of churches, they had already done a lot of registration. They are selling these things to the new people. So I think indirectly the government is allowing cartels to continue to register churches, and it's continuing in the background.
Wow. Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. And I would also like to have a Bible perspective, okay, concerning this matter. Can we have some references, biblical references, in matters of prohibition of the church?
I think for me, I will look on the one who gave birth to Christianity. Okay. That is Jesus himself. Mm-hmm. At the point of his birth, there was a king in the land called Herod. Mm-hmm. And he ordered the killing of all firstborn male children in an attempt to kill Jesus himself. So the issue of stopping of registration in church historically is not a new thing. From the beginning, there have been attempts to stop churches, and Christ himself was being stopped from being born, but they did not succeed.
Wow. Yes, I can support also my fellow pastor. We see soldiers who crucified Jesus Christ on the cross. They were told not to speak about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but we see later they were unable to hide it. Mm-hmm. We saw so many people who saw Jesus Christ being resurrected. Himself, he came to the disciples. Mm-hmm. So they stopped. They wanted to stop him from not to be known that he was resurrected, but it was unstoppable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. But however, the reason why the directive was given was in order to address a particular issue that was, that was posing a problem. There was a reason for which the Attorney General, gave that directive. And can you tell us, in relation to the prohibition of church, that reason for which the directive was given, how do you relate the two? Do you think there is some element of, right in it as far as the reason why the directive was given?
Yeah, so on one side, we are all subject to the Constitution, to our Constitution. The Constitution gives us rights and freedoms, but the Constitution also has enough laws to deal with if we go beyond above board. So when we look at this issue critically, there have been some criminals in church. We can't hide from that. There are people who have taken advantage of the sheep. They have stolen from them. We have pastors who fed the sheep. They have raped the sheep and some other things that are very shameful. We agree. But on the other side, the government coming up with an issue of stopping the churches, that's not right. We can't register the churches. That is wrong. Our Constitution is very powerful. We have enough laws to deal with criminals. If we have a thief who is on the pulpit, we have laws to deal with such people. If we have people who are taking advantage of the flock, we have enough laws. We have not run short of the laws. So from my own understanding, I see a lot of mischief in the government coming up to stop the churches being registered, to do things like auditing the churches, looking at the qualifications of the ministers. We have enough laws to do that. For me, there is mischief in this. It's wrong. It's something that Kenyans should not accept.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's fair enough. And, we can also talk about the differences between the prohibition of the church, which appears to be, which the reason behind it appears to be, to benefit, society. The fact that there has been that restriction, because it was so that the government will be able to go through the churches that are registered and do some investigation and try to, to stop the other church, the wrong churches, from continuing. So that's the reason why that directive was given, to first of all halt the registration as the investigation go on, on the ones that are registered, in order to sort of sieve, the wrong, from the good ones. And I would also like to ask a question to Pastor Julius. Do you think there is some sort of fairness somehow? The fact that we have churches that, ministers, people that are not able to do ministry or register their ministries, and, we also, in the meantime, we have maybe other organizations that are being registered that might not necessarily benefit society. I don't know. What is your take on that?
For this, with me, I support that. I'm against the government stopping from registration. I ask the government to continue registering other churches.
All right, what's your take on that? Thank you so much, Mr. Julius. What's your take on that?
I absolutely agree with him that this nation needs goodness to prevail. And the church is not in to advocate for evil. Mm-hmm. And whereas the church is being stopped from operating through restriction of registration of churches, we have clubs that are being registered. We have nasty NGOs that are being registered. We have all kind of groupings, societies, that even advocate for what we may call evil moralities that are being registered in this nation. Meaning, whereas the groups that are doing evil are being registered, the church in totality does good to the society. We should not restrict its registration. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So you all agree that the registration should go on, and maybe we may want to know what will be the solution in the matter, because if supposing we let the church continuing registering, and we still have the wrong, as in the churches doing what is not right, what would be your solution? The solution to take care of that particular issue?
Number one, we should ask ourselves, what was the genesis of restriction? The genesis was an office in this nation, and the office of the Attorney General, which is a junior office to the office of the President. The President have got the power over the office of the Attorney General. So I would say the solution to this is the President to come out clean and give a presidential directive that lift the ban of registration of churches. Mm-hmm. As simple as that. We will not get a solution anywhere else. An office under the government restricted registration of churches. Similarly, the highest office in this nation, the office of the President, should come out clean and give a directive that now lift the ban of registration of churches. Because when we go loud and look for solutions anywhere else, and then we have a powerful man in this nation who can give a word, and the restriction is lifted, then we call upon him to do it for the good of the church of this nation, and even for the good of his legacy, because he's keen on a legacy. How will you leave a legacy of people who don't have a freedom to worship? We have the issue of corruption, and we really congratulate him. We applaud him for the efforts he is making to counter corruption in this nation. But I would like to tell him one thing. If he leaves this country with no church registration. The good work he have done for countering corruption in this nation, within 5 years, if the church will not be there, I can assure him that will be zero work. So let's give room to churches. So churches in history have never been vehicles for evil. In history, church have always been vehicles for the good of the society. In fact, we can tell him one secret. There is a nation in South America where the church have dominated the nation, and Christianity is so powerful to an extent that they have deployed their police to other laws in the society because they are not criminals to deal with. So when the church is strong in a nation, then even the evils, the government is investing so much money on training police and all these disciplinary forces, it may find itself now deploying those disciplinary forces to other laws because the church is playing its role as it should pray. So open the registration of churches, Mr. President.
All right. Wow. So that is a solution that Pastor Thuku would, propose, and we would like to hear from you also, our viewers. What are your opinions? What are your views? So you can follow us on Twitter, hashtag Freedom of Worship KE in capital. You like us on Facebook. The Facebook page is 2019 Church Petition, and the WhatsApp number is 0725 147 172. Say it again. WhatsApp line is 0725 147 172. Give us your comment. We'd like to hear from you and know what's your opinion on this. So for now, we're gonna go for a short break. We'll be right back.